Yeah, how you doing, Hannah?
Good. How are you, Luke?
I'm good, thank you. So enough about me here. I want to talk about you here. How are you doing? And how's your day been?
My day's been good. I always enjoy Fridays. We're all a bit sore and tired in the gym, and we get to just focus on technique and push through. So today's a good day. It's sunny out, and overall, I'm doing well. I've overcome some recent health issues, and I'm just feeling strong and just grateful to be able to be in the gym every day.
Yeah, I read that. I remember seeing a post that you had made about some health issues. It's okay if you don't want to elaborate on that. But yeah, so it would appear that everything's kind of getting over under control, or what's your situation?
Yeah. So about a little over a year ago, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. So
Mhm.
that just was affecting my autoimmune, my inflammatory, my gut, and every time I started to get better, there was some deaths in the family, and stress ends up triggering it all over again. But for the most part, I found a lot of coping mechanisms. I've gotten really into breath work, and thank goodness I've got training in MMA because that's just such a good outlet.
Yeah, no doubt. I know a few people that have the same thing going on, so I know it's not. I'm sure it's not easy to live with. But I'm glad to hear that things are kind of taking a turn. But yeah, so I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, and I just want to say first off, before I go any further, welcome to Empire Universe Media. I know it's your first time on, so just welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. I was excited that you messaged me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure, and I'd love to get started here. So whereabouts are you at the moment?
Right now I'm living in Las Vegas.
Mhm.
So I moved here about, oh gosh, I think it's already been 4 or 5 months now,
Yeah.
getting
So
situated.
yeah, what prompted that decision to move all the way to Los Angeles
Or Las Vegas.
or Las Vegas? Sorry.
Yeah, no. So my wife and I were living in Orlando area, and my wife got an opportunity to work at the UFC PI. And I'm not going to hold her back. A lot of gyms out here for me too. So it was just a really great opportunity for our family, and can't say no to another adventure.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to just congratulate Becky for getting the job. I think it was back in January, correct?
Let's see, I think she yeah, in January she was officially hired as a full-time employee. And I think it's cool because I think she's the first female strength and conditioning coach that the UFC's hired. So get a fangirl over my own wife a little bit. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean the fact that now that she's a strength and conditioning coach over there, do you go over there and do you let her train you, or do you kind of separate home from work?
No, she's been my strength and conditioning coach personally for a while now. So it's cool. I do get to get in on the facility a little bit. Of course, before or after hours, I get to go in and have her coach me. Or since I train at Syndicate, we have a lot of UFC fighters over there. So if I tag along with them, I get to come in during hours and get that experience also.
Yeah, and how's your experience been like just trying being able to take advantage over there?
Oh, it's amazing. They say when you go to a gym, once you hit kind of that top level and you're one of the better ones around there, it's always a good time to find a spot where there's a lot more people better than you are. So coming here and joining at the bottom of the pack has been really inspiring and remotivating to how much more room I have to grow and how much better I can get.
Well, I know you have your hands full over there at Syndicate MMA. I know there's a lot of great fighters over there, a lot of great people that train over there. But being over at the PI, I mean, I'm sure you've got to meet some of your idols or some people that you kind of look up to, I'm sure.
Definitely. And just the facility itself and everything they have to offer, and to see how well they take care of their athletes.
Mhm.
It's quite amazing. Even going as far as weight cutting, I just feel like that hasn't always been a very safe practice in this sport, but they're getting doctors and nutritionists and so many people involved to make it as safe as possible and as successful as possible. It's really cool to see all aspects of fighting, not just the striking and grappling martial arts side techniques, everything that goes into it.
Yeah, and you know, you bring up a really good point about how they really take care of the fighters over there, or anyone that does choose to use that as a training facility. I know that they've a couple guys I've talked with. I know Gustavo Lopez. He's trained over there, and he's talked about how they I think they give you like these rings, and it I think it records a lot of your heartbeat, your vitals, everything.
Oh yeah. I mean, it can go in, you go in to see your strength and conditioning coach or your PI, and if they ask how you're doing and you said maybe I didn't sleep so good or I'm feeling a little funky today, oh, they're like, oh, well, pull up your app, and they can look at the stats of what your ring is giving them. So they can help find, like, stress factors, how are you sleeping, what energy you're using for different activities. I don't have one yet, but I think that's coming next.
That's on the wish list, right?
It's on the wish list. I know, rub elbows a little bit. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking a lot about training. I mean, like for yourself, you know, you've been training MMA for a bit now, and you know, you've had just a few fights on your pro record, but you've had quite a few fights on your amateur. So what kind of prompt, like, what made you decide I want to be an MMA artist, I want to do this as a profession? Was it just a hobby at first, or was it something that you just thought about? What kind of got you into it?
It's actually just an opportunity that kind of came upon itself. And I do take science seriously. I feel like when the universe presents a path, then it's kind of your obligation to go for it. I was a pretty big rugby player and really passionate about rugby for a long time. And one of my teammates, and she was just a legend on our club, she opened up her own MMA gym and fought herself and was coaching a lot of people. And it was in the off season, winter time, and she, just blunt, not no sugarcoating for Robin Woods. She's like, "Don't get fat. Come take a free jujitsu class." And she offered it to the rugby club, and I was just one of a few people that actually took her up on that. Jiu-jitsu didn't quite spark my passion at all for MMA at that point, but I got into class early, and I just saw a punching bag and some Goodwill gloves, and I started playing around on the bag, and she came up behind me and just told me that this is for you. This is something you'd be exceptional at. I think you should give it a try. And she let me keep those Goodwill boxing gloves and set me up for a fight 3 months later.
Yeah, and I mean, having your first fight, what was your first initial reaction? Did you know right then and there you were hooked, or did you think, can I keep getting punched in the face? What was your thought process?
I think one of the first photos they caught of that fight was right after I took my first punch, and I was cheesing so hard. So it was definitely once I was in the cage for the first time. Maybe not before the fight. That was my first time really experiencing that pre-fight jitters. I had no idea what to expect. I was at the FCFF, and they had a filled up stand. I think it was like 4,000 people there. So it was really thrown into it quick. But soon as those first punches went, just like rugby, as soon as that first tackle's made, it's go time.
Yeah, and that being said, you've had an opportunity to do it. You know, you've had quite a few fights now, and looking back on, I mean, I guess, how would you compare yourself now than compare yourself back then in terms of mindset?
I'd say the martial art mindset, that control, not just trying to better myself in every way. Whereas before, it was just such an outlet and a release to me to be able to fight and to train and trying to, I had nothing diagnosed, but self, treating any kind of emotional, mental things. It was just train until you can't feel it anymore. To then falling in love with those little inch by inch progressions, the getting better every day. It just turned my whole world around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of fighters too, like it does kind of start out as sometimes just something to do, or it might turn out as a hobby, or it might turn out to be I guess therapy, if I should say. But then the more you do it, the more it becomes a passion, becomes real once you get your pro fights, and it is you're in the long haul. It really becomes real. So it's nice to hear people really talk about mindset, where you end up in over the years, right?
Mm-hmm. And even the styles, like when I first went in, I was really only learning striking, Muay Thai, a little bit of boxing, and I learned a little bit of jiu-jitsu just to know how to survive, just in case. to then now I've progressed where I enjoy going to the wrestle training sessions. I enjoy going to BJJ competitions. So something that I hated 3 years ago to now I love doing it. It kind of just shows to myself how much I've been growing inside and out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, training at Syndicate MMA now, what are probably the biggest things that you've learned since you've gone over there?
Maybe just controlling my body. It's something I've heard over and over again from a lot of coaches, but John Wood is, he's no nonsense, and he really sticks it to you that if I can't even just hit you with my bare fist and not hurt your hands, then am I even controlling my own punches? So to really step back and learn my body, learn my range, control my power. It's not about holding back on your opponent, but just controlling yourself and controlling the situation. So that's been huge, and it's still something I'm working on quite a bit on the daily. But that is my first immediate, since getting my first private session with John Wood, the sparring sessions with these high level fighters. If you just go in there crazy, biting your mouth guard and swinging, you're going to get knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, like, describe the atmosphere of that gym. I mean, I know it's a great gym. It's very, I've heard nothing but great things from the fighters there. I mean, if someone had not been there and you had to describe the atmosphere, what would you say?
Ooh, deep waters. Okay. Yeah, it's literally a room full of like dozens and dozens of pro athletes that are all passionate about what you do. Like, you don't survive the week of training there if you don't love it, right? If you don't like getting hit in the face, it's not the place for you. If you don't like working till you're sore and bruised and tired, again, it's not the place for you. But if you're passionate and you're dedicated and you're willing to stick through, Syndicate's a great spot to learn and develop and to get a little bit better every single day.
Yeah, and I mean, over at Syndicate, who do you normally train with?
Well, when I first got started, because when I first moved here, I wasn't 100% sure which gym I wanted to go to, and I tried out Syndicate first. And I think it was just my first class. Roxanne, the Happy Warrior, just came up to me and she just made my day. Immediately asked if we wanted to be partners at this end of the training session, asked if we wanted to be friends. And I was roped in right off the bat by her welcoming and friendly personality. And just to learn from someone, I mean, gosh, she's been around forever. she helped pave the way for female fighters. So then to be able to come in the gym and actually train together. And then as I got more involved, she let me be a part of her last fight camp. So it was just such an honor. That was my first experience going in. And there's Joanne Wood. She's there all the time. Ramona, who just got in the UFC, she's a great fighter too. And even in the last 6 months, seeing her progression, how much she's gotten better, is inspiring me to want to keep getting better too.
Well, when you brought up the fact that Roxanne was kind of the first one to really reach out, it didn't really surprise me. I was waiting for you to say that because, that's just who she is. And you can see it in all the fights that she's done, all the media that she's done. She does live up to that kind of nickname, the Happy Warrior. And she really truly she's just in there for a good time. She's not there to trash talk. She's just there for a good fight and a good time.
And she's genuine too. Some people, are a little bit fake with their being friendly, and you never know how it's going to be in a month or two. But no, she genuinely is happy to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't find that all the time. Like, some people, you just go and you train with people because you have to, right? But when you have someone that's genuinely there and wants to see you grow and become a better fighter, I think that there's a lot of people that do have that ability to do that, but they're there because you kind of have to. It's part of being in a gym. It's part of having team members, right? Or and teammates. So it's nice to kind of see someone have that genuine side of them and show that, hey, no, I want to see you get to the best of your ability.
Right. And that was my first impression of Syndicate was Roxanne. And at that point I signed up, and that's where I've been since.
Excellent. And I guess before I go any further, the last 15 minutes, I've been seeing the wall behind you, and you gotta what it is.
It's a samurai cat.
That's awesome. Did you
got the fur tattoos?
Yeah, did you put that on there, or is it like a deck now, or like what?
Oh, it's like a cloth tapestry that I nailed down to the wall.
Oh wow, that's really cool. You are
Oh
the
yeah.
second fighter that has a tapestry behind them. I think I'm trying to think who I was talking to. It was Julius Inglescus. He had this like it almost like a I'm trying to think of like almost like a medieval dark tapestry behind him, and he had it hanging up, and we just kept chatting. I just wanted to get that question out so badly.
Like, what is that?
Yeah. So that's really cool. I really thought that was painted on the wall. So good job. I mean, whereabouts did you find that?
Oh gosh. I'm sure it was some Instagram ad that they know exactly what I like. Or am I, you know what? I think I Googled Amazon until I got some ideas of companies, and this was the one my wife helped me pick out. Let's see. I got one more. I'm into samurais, by the way. So we got this one here, which is a little bit more serious than the fun, exciting cat.
Mm-hmm.
The martial arts lifestyle in Tokyo.
No, that's actually really cool. I don't, most of the fighters I interview, I just see a blank wall. I don't get to see anything, exciting behind. So it's nice to kind of see someone have something in the background. It's cool. I like it. Total respect.
Yeah, cool. I picked this spot myself.
That's awesome. Going back to your career here, I know that you don't have any fights set up that I know of, but you did just recently have a grappling match. So that being said, can you kind of describe besides the punching, the kicking, the whole all around fighting, but can you kind of describe the difference between training for a grappling match and then training for an actual MMA fight?
Yeah, but to be honest, when I do compete in grappling, I don't change all that much because even though I'm competing in grappling, I'm keeping my mindset of MMA. So maybe I'll go to a couple more jiu-jitsu matches, but I mean, I went even that Thursday, 2 days before, I still went to the gym for my protein MMA practice. Usually I like to compete in Nogi, so I might back off of any gi classes and really just focus on Nogi, just because you can't have your clothes being grabbed onto in that kind of competition. And different mindset is about like controlling your opponent. You don't have to worry so much about striking, but while I'm grappling, I'm imagining certain control points, not just looking for submissions, but I do look where would there be some good ground and pound.
Yeah, and kind of to elaborate on that, for people that might not understand so much what jiu-jitsu is all about, but can you kind of describe the difference between competing in a nogi and with a gi?
Yeah, so gi is you're gonna have it looks like a jacket, right? If you're a Star Wars fan, it might look like you got the Jedi outfit on. You've got your belt, which shows your ranking. So it's not just about years, but about your experience, and you get to earn higher rankings, different colored belts. And they say that one's really realistic and good to learn for self-defense. Say you're, walking from the bar to the car and you got your jacket on and someone is grabbing you. You can learn about different grip strengths. And then when you go nogi, instead of gripping on the clothes, you're having to learn the grips on the body instead. So it's just one variable less.
Well, one of the biggest things I hear from some certain fighters is that they talk about how the nogi is a little bit more realistic for fighters that want to get into the MMA, which when you're learning more you're not worrying so much about using the clothing, you're using more the limbs, you're using more the body parts versus the clothing to use your chokes or using your
for fighting as a sport. If you're looking into fighting and wanting to be a fighter, a cage fighter, it's get as much nogi as you can. It's also very fast paced. It's really explosive. Where if you're doing gi, maybe that's a little bit more the long-term martial arts journey, right? It's slower, it's a harder grind. You got time to pause, think, and do everything super technical, right? There's a lot more variables with the gi on. So I'd say nogi is faster, more explosive, more relatable to MMA. And I would say gi just to me feels a little bit more martial arts style. It's a journey that you get to belt and progress through, and maybe is a little bit more relatable to real life self-defense situations.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I guess I got to ask, besides your grappling that you've done, any fight news, anything that you're working on, any negotiations?
I've reached out to my manager and let her know that I am interested to start looking for some fights, whether she wants me to go do a Muay Thai match first or back to MMA. This grapple match I just had last weekend was a big indicator that I'm ready now to compete again. Since stress is one of the biggest triggers for the Crohn's flare-ups, we wanted to just start with grappling, and everything. I feel great physically, mentally, emotionally. So that's kind of the green light to now I get to start looking.
Well, you look good, and everything sounds positive. So I'm glad to hear it. We hope to see you get back into that cage, into that fighting.
Yeah.
But looking into your career, a lot of fighters that I've asked talking about what would you do after fighting. I would never ask any fighters to try to go further ahead in their career. But like looking at your career, have you like kind of talked with your wife about what would you like to do if you finally say, I'm done with fighting, I'm gonna retire? What would be your backup plan?
Yeah, it's funny. We do have that conversation, and we have that conversation every maybe 6 months or a year. We have that conversation again just to make sure we're both on the same page. Oh gosh, and I mean, I enjoy coaching. So for a while there, coaching was just my go-to. Maybe I can help someone else. Maybe I can get their career even to go farther than my career. And then thinking about that more, well, maybe it's not just fighting I really like, but I am a positive person, and I like making people happy, and I like helping people be happy. And I really think that there's a way to use martial arts to encourage that. So I just had a conversation with my manager and my dad about what is it that I want to do and how to get there. So I'm reaching out to some local rehab facilities, VA hospitals, and I just really think there's a way to incorporate martial arts and fitness to help mental health and all sorts of different recoveries. So I haven't found it quite yet, but I think that's the direction I want to go. It's something I'm really passionate about. A lot of my family members, friends, families I've seen and been with as they suffer various conditions, where I think if you could just find something, just any kind of outlet, any way to increase endorphins, it helps healing.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think one of the bigger topics in this sport MMA at the moment, in my opinion, is mental health. And like we've heard a lot of stories about some of these fighters getting outside of the cage, getting in trouble outside the cage, and mental health and all those things that are kind of on the side there. And I think it's so important that MMA, like the MMA organizations recognize how serious mental health can be, because you see all these fighters and they're winning fights, or everything's going their way, but you really don't know what's going behind the scenes. So it's good to kind of, I wouldn't say expose, but it's good to really lay out all that stuff that people can see and see that this is a grueling sport. It can be. And so it's good.
Right. It could be therapy. It doesn't just have to be a triggering effect, where I've seen young guys fighting because they're like remembering their parents beating them or being bullied, and they're recreating that situation, where I don't think that's a healthy way to use MMA. But if you're using it as an outlet, as a way of self-expression, it is safe, and it is a controlled way. I know a lot of people, not just me, feel like when you're in the cage and they lock the doors behind you, you're safer in there than you are out in the rest of the world. You know who you're going against, and there's a set of rules. There's an official.
And that's why I think it's excellent. A fighter that I interviewed a while back, he talked about how getting kids into things like Jiu Jitsu, and I think it's a very healthy sport for
100%.
healthy thing for kids to get into, because people would deem it as a very, it's aggression, they're fighting, but it's so much more
I like that. I like they say the self-defense and discipline. I think that's just huge, huge characteristics and traits that if we can get our youth competing, or not even just competing, but just training and to have some regular structure, I can't see it going in a bad way. I mean, unless you're abusing it, but I mean, if you're going to legit school, they're teaching you not to abuse it. They're giving you tools to use, and not just here's a tool, go out in the world, have fun. They're teaching you how to use it the right way, when and how.
So that being said, you talked about your plans, maybe for after you retire, but looking at the second half of 2022, what does that look like for you, and what is your plans for the rest of the year?
I would like to get a fight scheduled. I think that's a very realistic goal. Maybe this fall or something, get something scheduled. I'm hungry, and it's been a while. It's been about a year since I've been in the cage last. So I'm ready to test the waters and go out there, see where I'm at, see what I need. This has been a different experience being in Las Vegas since I originally started in Oregon, then went to Florida and here. I mean, I've had the same small group of coaches and personalized training, which has been very great and family oriented and very specialized to what I needed. And this is my first time being part of a big gym, a big team. So I just want to take advantage of this different atmosphere that I'm in and test it out in the cage, because what else am I going to do?
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Like I said, I know we're kind of running up on time here. So I just want to thank you again, Hannah, for taking the time. I understand we had to reschedule, but I do appreciate you taking your time to come on here and let me interview you. And I'd love to have you back on when you have a fight booked.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you when I get something scheduled.